Welcome back to Alex Lacasse Makes Food. Today I want to show you my version of kimchi, which may not be the most traditional one, but it's definitely the simpler version. So let's get right into it. Kimchi! Here's what we're going to need to start our project today. The biggest container you have, a box grater, measuring cup, measuring spoon, and then two, what are those called? Freezer bags. And in terms of the ingredients, we're going to need a chunk of daikon, ginger, garlic, fish sauce, some nice high quality sea salt, some Korean chilies, which I will link in the description. And then I have one head of Napa cabbage, washed already, and 3 scallions. I'm gonna do a ratio that's for every pound of Napa cabbage you have. So first off, in our big container, I'm gonna start with my box grater. So for every pound of cabbage, I'm gonna grate 1 cup of daikon. All right, that feels like about 3 cups to me. Now on the smaller hole of my box grater, I'm gonna do 1 clove of garlic for every pound of cabbage. Now that the garlic is grated, I have some fresh ginger that I peeled already. And here, this is about the same thing. I'm gonna do 1 teaspoon of grated ginger for every pound of Napa cabbage. Next step, I will not need my box grater anymore, so get all the goodies in here. So for every pound of Napa cabbage, I'm gonna do 1 teaspoon of salt. Here I have some really beautiful light gray Celtic sea salt. That's one of those salt that's not too salty, but it has an immense amount of flavor to it, minerals and all that, and that's gonna do some magic in here. On to the fish sauce. Traditionally, kimchi will have some sort of shrimp thing in there. Because I'm allergic to crustaceans, I'm gonna go with some Thai fish sauce, which also not so traditional, but this is gonna be like the most LA kimchi ever. I'm using Thai fish sauce to make a Korean recipe that was actually taught to me by Oaxacan men. All right, so 3 teaspoons of fish sauce in there. Last but not least is gonna be the Korean chili powder. So for every pound, I'm gonna do 1 full tablespoon of chili powder. I like my kimchi pretty spicy. All right, so now that I have this mixture, we're gonna start massaging it all together. You want the salt to start acting with the radish and get a little bit of moisture out of the radish. All right, now that everything is well incorporated, I'm gonna move it to a corner. Back in this container, I'm gonna add 3 pounds of Napa cabbage and 3 whole scallion. Now this is a really fun part. We get to massage all this radish chili rub in with the Napa cabbage. And you don't need to go crazy and use like all the strength in the world, but you want to make sure all the flavor is really combined between every layer. This is not like sauerkraut. You're not going to start seeing like a ton of moisture come out of the cabbage. Don't go use the restroom right after that. You're going to like, you know, just be careful with your chili hands. The reason why I'm not cutting those scallions is because I may be one of those control freaks that will just ferment them whole, and then when I decide what I want to turn kimchi into, if I want to use it for fried rice or if I want to use it as a condiment, then I'm gonna just cut accordingly. And I'm gonna ferment it in these big bags today. Why am I doing that? Well, I definitely don't have a jar that fits those big heads of cabbage. I'm gonna put half a cabbage per bag and make sure to add all the nice juice and mixture that's at the bottom of your container. I got all my cabbage in here. I'm gonna take as much air out of as possible and just close it tight like this. Also, one last thing I should say about fermenting in those bags is they're definitely gonna bubble up with all the CO2 that's gonna happen in there as the lactic acid bacteria is digesting the sugar. I would put those baggies definitely on a tray as they may leak while they puff. And probably every couple days, I would release a little bit to let the CO2 out. I like my kimchi to be as funky as it is spicy. And trust me, there's a lot of chili in there, so you want the lactic acid flavor to really live up to the heat. All right, so here's a couple different stages on the kimchi while it's fermenting. So in this jar here and on this plate, I have day 2, which is looking sort of just like a wilted cabbage. And if I eat a bit of it, it really just still tastes like spicy, fishy cabbage, which is not all that exciting. Good, not super exciting. And here on this plate, I have a version that's been fermenting at room temperature for 10 days. And if I eat a bit of that, finally this is like so cool because first thing that hits my mouth is the lactic acid, and it's so bright and delicious and funky. And then you eat it and you realize, oh, there's some really delicious fish sauce in there, and there's some Korean chilies, and all of it just start making sense together. So for my version of kimchi, you want to pack in as much flavor as possible, and that's why you're going to ferment it at room temperature for 10 days. Once it's done, take it out of the bags, put it in the fridge, and it'll stay good for 6 full months. So, cheers. If you like getting professional chef tips on how to make restaurant quality food at home, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll be posting weekly. So until next week, keep tickling those taste buds.